Welcome back to Resonant Frequencies, a space where we explore all things anomalous and definitions of terms used within this space. I'm your host, Nand. And in today's presentation, we're going to pick up where we left off, which was to play with resonant frequencies between our hands. So in the last episode, we talked about putting your hands about an inch apart from each other and moving away from that space and coming back to the inch apart from each other and playing with that. And as you do, you'll begin to feel some sort of pressure on the palm of your hand. In today's episode, we're going to expand that. And we're going to go by bringing the hands together about 6 inches and moving it away about a foot and coming back to it. And as you do, you'll begin to feel the same sensations that you felt in the last episode. That is, there is a pressure building up or something is in between the palms of your hand. And that is what I define as subtle energies. We're beginning to feel the subtle energies that are between our hands and to play with it and to maneuver it and to move it around. Now, having said that, please go ahead and practice this at your own time. And what we want to do is just make sure that we're not being disturbed. No phone calls, no people in the room. Put your pets out, be by yourself, and look across from you where you are, whether you're sitting or laying down, and find a focal point. Focus on that focal point and begin playing with your hands and feeling the subtle energies. Now, in this episode, I want to talk about a couple of terms, one of which is prana, and the other is chi. So, the definition of prana and chi, in a simple way, is the same definition as subtle energies. Is one better than the other? No, they're all similar, but they're used in different spaces and parts of the world. Prana is very Indian in its nature, subcontinent India, that is. And it's been a word that has been used for thousands of years. And if you ask most Indians what prana is, they'll tell you they know, but they're all going to have a difficult time explaining what it is. That doesn't matter. What matters is, can you feel this pressure in between? And so we started off calling it subtle energies. Now we're going to call it prana, or subtle energies. Same thing, different term. The next term I want to talk about is the word qi, or the word hei, depending on which Chinese language you use. And both are correct. Some Chinese will call it hei, and some will call it qi, and that's okay. It's the same description as prana, or subtle energies, but from China. And again, this term goes back thousands of years. It's a form that's utilized in many of their daily lives, as is prana with the Indians or the Eastern Indians. And so I'm going to be mixing terms, and sometimes I might call whatever is in between our palms subtle energies, or qi, or prana. They're all the same in terms of what they do. All right, so having said that, let's move forward and talk about how to sort of get a better concept of what prana, chi, subtle energies are insofar as we humans are concerned. So let's start off with taking a point. So in your mind, just imagine a point, and once that point is there, imagine the point having an extension going upward to another point. So now we have 2 points with a line drawn in between. Let's do the same going the other direction. So from the first point that we drew, let's move back and go downward and do another point. Now we have 3 points. And let's go back to the center point and let's move across and create another point, come back to the center, create another point, and now we have a cross with 5 different points to it. Those points that I'm referring to are the quality and the quantity of the prana, the chi, or the he, depending on what you're talking about in terms of using the proper term. Now, let's think about it in a different way. So, if we took those 5 points and moved them out to draw a square, that would be the prana around us and within us. So the first 5 points we talked about are the prana, the chi, or the subtle energies within us. The square defines our position in this space and where we're going during this lifetime in terms of what our mandates are. And in future episodes, I'll be talking more about mandates and what is our assignment in this lifetime as the soul that's within our bodies. All right, so if you like what you're hearing, let's take a moment, hit the like button, the subscribe button, ring the bell, and let's move forward. Now, imagine a square, and within that square is you. That square can be wide. That square could be narrow in its confines. And as you move forward in this lifetime and achieve certain goals that you've come here to achieve, then that square begins to get wider and higher. And not symmetrically, but as you do a challenge that is presented to you in this lifetime, then you move the outer borders of the square. And that dictates your position in the space again. Now, think about other people that are around you. And let's put each one of those folks in a square. So you go through life, you interact with people, you join with their, or connect with their square. And as there is an assignment to complete with that individual, then either your square becomes wider and higher or narrows and becomes shorter. So think of it in that way. And the wider, the higher each box or each square is, indicates the volume of prana coming through you. Having said that, let's take a few moments and visualize that. So a point, add another point, add a third point, connect the 3 points, go to the right, go to the left, and let's connect those points. And now we have 5 points, 1 in the center, 1 above, 1 below, 1 to the side, and 1 to the other side, forming a cross. And we expanded that cross and created a container, in this case a square. Doesn't have to be even, but a square. And if we put you inside of that square, then that's who you are in terms of the subtle energies that are within you and that you are emanating around you. Now, I know I've said a lot of different terms here. Soul, emanation of energies, subtle energies we've talked about. In future episodes, I will dedicate more time to explaining some of the components and explanations of the words that I'm using here. And as we go through each episode, you'll begin to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And that's what I'm trying to achieve. Now, having said that, let's go about doing another exercise. So the exercise is quite simple. Again, we start with you in the square. If you have achieved something positive, and let's define what positive means. Positive means here that you've done something good for the greater good as well as for your own good. So, for instance, if I see a person in need of some help and I provide them with either food, money, clothing, then I have helped someone else. And that someone else's square will begin to grow because they've received something that's a benefit to help them on their journey. At the same time, my square also expands because I've achieved something I've come here to do. And one of the things maybe is to help someone. And in this case, the example is presented that I'm helping someone. Now, there are signs and indications and even symptoms of what we're doing to determine whether it's positive or not positive. So let's talk about some of these signals or signs. If you feel happy and you have no understanding of what causes that happiness, then you've done something positive that you've come here to do in this lifetime. If you feel chaotic, confused, then the opposite holds true. Now, if you want to learn more about this, please reach out to us, pop us a question, send us an email, and I'll respond to you with more clarity, or I will include it in upcoming episodes. So let's look at the picture again. We're going through life, we're in our square, and we're bumping into other squares of other people in their squares. So if you have an issue, especially now, and no matter what you do, there's a confused component or a lack of clarity component, what we've done here is we've created some ways to fix that. If you're interested, reach out again and I'll explain further in detail. So that concludes today's episode. And again, let's summarize. We talked about the definition loosely of the words chi, prana, and then comparing that to subtle energies, and then getting a language going. And again, I'm going to use these terms interchangeably in upcoming shows. So we all have a language that is common with the same explanations. And the way to look at it is by putting yourself in a box. Take your time, start off with a point, then adding a point at the top and a point at the bottom, and then going across, creating a cross, and then making that into a square. Doesn't have to be an even square, but a square. And if you can practice that and have fun with that, then begin to observe when you bump into another square with a person inside and there's an interaction. How does that interaction make you feel? Does it make you feel happy? Or does that make you feel confused or chaotic? In the next episode, we're going to talk about a larger component of these squares and how to contain them in terms of our understanding of what's going on. And once we have that, then we can move on to other topics. Thank you for joining us. Remember to subscribe, hit the like button, ring the bell, and or reach out to us with questions. Thank you.